All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, where we are joined right now by our friend Steve Emerson, Executive Director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism, who we don't have yet. We're going to effort him. I know he's driving around somewhere in his car. He did tell me that was going to happen. But he was on to talk about two things, and I want to run them by you, and hopefully he'll be able to join us within this segment. A British court yesterday heard yet another first-hand statement that jihadist terror attacks are motivated by radical Islamist religious beliefs, at least in this case. One of the two men charged, you remember the hacking of the British soldier, the soldier's name Lee Rigby. They hacked him to death in a brutal daylight attack in London last May. Well, he testified Monday telling the court he did kill Rigby, and he said, "My religion is everything. When I came to Islam, I realized that real success is not just what you can acquire, but really is if you make it to paradise, because then you can relax. To fight jihad for the sake of Allah is not something that's to be taken lightly, fun, or something like this." Joining us now is Steve Emerson, as I mentioned, Executive Director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Steve.
How are you?
Good.
All right, so I just got finished reading the quote from the killer of Lee Rigby, and you're so right. This is a story posted on your website, and it is a disgrace. But it proves that the motivation behind many of these radical Islamists and these terrorist attacks are because they think they're doing it for Allah. They're going to die and they're going to go to heaven.
Absolutely. I mean, they're religiously inspired, and all efforts by the apologists for radical Islamic extremists to claim that this doesn't represent any religion, that it's just, waywardness or some deranged individual. They simply are apologizing and legitimizing acts of violence that are, to the killers, are very rational.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But you're right, because, we seem to think that if only these people had jobs, they'd be fine. It's poverty that causes this. And it's not. It really isn't. I haven't heard one of the,
poverty in other parts of the world, in South America, in India. I mean, you don't see suicide bombers there.
And not only that, Steve, how many of these people over the years have been doctors and lawyers and well-paid people in well-paid professions that have, gone over to jihad?
Well, in fact, in the Muslim world, the major members of the Muslim Brotherhood groups have been doctors, lawyers, engineers, physicians. They're not poor working class. They're upper middle class or even upper class. And they're the unions of the engineers, of the doctors, of the physicians, of the professionals have been dominated by the Muslim Brotherhood, whose motto, of course, is jihad, and dying for Allah is the only way we can survive. So the notion somehow that it's either the Arab-Israeli conflict, if you just solve that, or if Israel just withdraws from someplace, or if the United States doesn't use drones or something, or if there's some type of progress that makes the Muslims who feel humiliated. The reason they feel humiliated, it's not all Muslims. We're talking about a minority here, but those that are the extremists feel humiliated because they're not in control of the world. That's the only way they're going to feel unhumiliated.
All right, we have a time for one more story here, and this is an exclusive to your website, IPT, and it involves a name from the past almost, Sami El-Arian. He was on Capitol Hill attending a hearing the other day, about a group promoting an effort to promote the Muslim Brotherhood, correct? Tell the folks who Sami El-Arian is.
Sami El-Arian was a professor at the University of South Florida in Tampa, but in the 1990s, and during that time he was head of a Palestine Islamic Jihad network in the United States, actually worldwide, and he operated from the safety and protection of being a professor, claiming that he had nothing to do with terrorism. In fact, in the trial that was held in 2003, he was found guilty, or he pled guilty actually, to a charge of being a a senior member of the Islamic Jihad, and he was sentenced to jail. Then he was flown up to Washington to testify in a grand jury about terrorism. He refused to. He was jailed for that, but some liberal judge released him from jail, even though this guy is a cold-blooded killer, and took away his ankle bracelet, which is what the precondition was for his being released from jail. And now he's walking a free man, operating hearings, organizing hearings in Congress, which is unbelievable.
It's unfathomable. It is. We are becoming. I mean, I can't even tell you what we're becoming. I mean, it's like you fell asleep, you woke up, and you don't know where you are. Let me ask you your take on the latest. I mean, he didn't bow, really. He did have to bend down to shake his hand, so some people might be calling it a bow. But Obama's handshake of Raul Castro today in South Africa at the funeral or the memorial service for Nelson Mandela.
This is news to me. Well, it shouldn't be news to me. Remember, he bowed down to the king of Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, that was another despot. I don't think he's ever met a totalitarian leader he didn't like.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case. Yeah,
I mean, I think that his problem is that he values. This is part of the left valuing totalitarianism more than they value real, true democracy with its pluralism.
Yeah.
All right. Only pluralism if you're a radical.
Steve, always great to talk to you, sir. We'll speak to you soon.
Okay, bye, Steve.
Bye-bye. Take care. Steve Emerson, Executive Director of the Investigative Project on Terrorism. We apologize for that. Every few seconds, his voice. It was almost like one of these radio commercials or something where a part of it is in a real voice and it goes, into a little echo chamber or something. Anyway, but I understood him. I hope you did too. And when we come back, we're going to talk to our friend Christopher Parker, Professor of Social Justice and Political Science, University of Washington. Is Obamacare a racist term? And we'll talk about that with him, tell you who said that it is, and we'll talk about the legacy of Nelson Mandela. I'm sure he'll weigh in on the handshake. All that straight ahead right here for your viewing and listening pleasure on the show they call the Steve Malzberg Show, right here on Newsmax TV and radio. Don't go away.